was. So this week that was, you and I already know exactly what the distraction was that was thrown our way. I don't believe this one was scripted as the usual ones, but it did end up being the dominant topic of discussion in the week that was. And since I will not be speaking about it again in the new week, let me round it up for you in the week that was segment. K1 decided to play superhero, and he was trying to chase an airplane. You can get lost in the show of shame, or we can enjoy the titillations and all of that. But there are critical issues that we ought to examine in looking at the week that was as it relates to that incident. This is not about a man. It's about a country. It's about the systems that we have built. I know that the entire episode has been reduced to that short clip of K1 playing superhero on the tarmac, whether that be a truant superhero or not. Don't allow yourself to get lost in the noise. What you saw in that clip was a window into the kind of country that we have built for ourselves. What happened from the security point, from the point where K1 was checking in? How did he go through security with that flask? How many layers of compromises had happened before the beat that we saw on the tarmac? Who cleared him with that fluid? The subject of what was contained in the flask is a different matter entirely. But I know as a fact that each and every Nigerian who has traveled outside the shores of Nigeria is fully aware that you cannot board an aircraft with liquid that is more than 100 mil. And in actual fact, they insist that even the bottle itself, anyway, that's another issue. I don't want to get bogged down in that. The key thing is this: how did he get to the point of boarding the plane with a flask containing that much liquid? What level of compromise happened to enable that to happen? Would the same level of compromise be available to terrorists? Is a material question to ask in the face of what we saw. That is one level. The second level, how transparent is the attempt at ensuring that this does not happen in future? We can make this about Kwam 1. We can make this about the pilot. And please, let me be very clear. I am not saying that it was correct for anyone to have taxied off if she knew and was aware that it was in that spot. But I assure you, or maybe I should do my best Buhari mimicry. I assure you, if I was a pilot, I probably would have done much worse. Insanity is the only cure for lunacy, and ours is a country that has gone mad. Because in the absence of madness as an excuse, how else do you explain where we are as a collective? And if you allow yourself to be distracted by the titillation of the event of the last week without focusing on the real issues, the compromises to our security, what was the role of NEMA, or is it NAMA, whatever they call themselves, the Nigerian Aviation Management Authority? What was their role? Exactly how many failures had occurred before the one they are seeking to punish both the pilot and Kwam 1 for? Move away from the persons. Let's deal with the institutions. How has the Federal Airline Airport Authority, how did it function? It is responsible for the security architecture in the airport. Exactly what happened? How many people have been issued queries? Who are the persons answering questions as to what led to this failing? Everywhere in the world, there are privileges extended to very important persons. However you shake Nigeria, the reality is that Kwam 1 is a VIP. But even that is exercised without compromising the security of those who should be citizens but are victims. And if this has been extended to Kwam 1, how many people has enjoyed the same privileges? Let me be clear. It is unfortunate that names have to be mentioned when we are dealing with our issues. And it is equally just as unfortunate that persons are always focused on instead of focusing on the systemic failure that the person has merely highlighted. This is not about Kwam 1. It's also not about the pilot. It's about the kind of society that we have built as a collective. Every day, we find new ways to disgrace ourselves before the world. We pretend as though there can be a different standard for the Nigerian and another for the world. Aviation security standards are the same all over the world. All over the world, there are also VIPs. VIP either because you've paid for a first-class ticket and you are exempted from going through the route that people who are flying cattle class would have to use. That's fine, but they do not extend that courtesy at the expense of security. How many compromises are we going to make in constructing a country? As it is, Nigeria is dying. That such level of compromise would happen to a critical infrastructure like aviation tells you exactly what we're dealing with as a collective. Commodore Laomi, I believe it was, who spoke about how the gates of our national security architecture institutions are opened up for prayers on Fridays. I don't know if this is done for those ones who went to camp, but this cannot continue. You don't build a country in this manner or in this fashion. You build a country upon truthful foundations, upon sacrificial principles, not on expedient comforts. This is my last word on this subject. As much as I can, I want to stay out of it. Kwam 1 is not my enemy, and the pilot is not my friend. But this is Nigeria. I'm not allowed to go anywhere else. If I say I will demand Udua Republic, now gone on, I go begin the brink. But for now, enough said on the subject. And I see that it's 10 o'clock now. And I want to speak with you this week on the subject. It is not well. Yeah, that was the topic I have picked for myself today. It is simply not well. How did I come about this? During the course of the week, one of my very good friends who has transited from Facebook to real life, I generally call him Weary because he's one of those people who still use their brains in this country. You might know him on Facebook, Obinna. He called me. He sent me a letter. Some organization in Nigeria to which he belongs or belonged, I hope I've convinced him to walk away, sent a letter through him, and they wanted me to come and receive some award. Obviously, they are altruistic enough to find nothing wrong with identifying with one that the society has deemed insane. So they wanted me to come and they wanted to bestow an award on me. And the more I read the letter, the angrier I got. Because this is an organization that is situated, they are everywhere in the world. Just one of those organizations that insists on, let me put it this way, they want to make society better. You know those ones, Lions, Rotary Club, and the like. I'm not going to be specific about which one of those do-gooders. So they want me to come and receive an award. And when I read the letter, the more I read it, the angrier I got. So instead of it, no, I sent him a flat no. But that flat no wasn't enough because he is a person who is in the position of a mentee to me. And I admire his capacity to think completely outside the box. Weary is a proper weary. So this weary, I couldn't leave him with just a no. So I phoned him. And I phoned him to say, look, I'm not accepting this, and please tell them I have no interest. And that provoked a conversation. And the more we spoke, the angrier I got. I passed along the message of my non-interest in this award. That conversation was not one that dragged for longer than a few seconds, but because he's a madman like me, we had a lot more to talk about on the subject. Now, I wasn't convinced that it should even be found in that kind of collective because I believe that collective to be completely moribund. If you have built an organization whose raison d'etre, the reason for existence, is to change and transform society, and you've been in Nigeria for at least the last 50 years, and Nigeria is the way it is, I really cannot absolve you of the same blame that I heap every day on every other segment of this society. If the churches are moribund, if the mosques are useless, what about the civil society? And then you come and you say you're building character in the society. And I look at the society and I asked my friend, if only the members of this organization makes the difference in Nigeria and are true to the ethos of this organization, wouldn't Nigeria be a better place? Can you in good conscience claim that even 10% of your members are true to the credos that they recite at every meeting? He agreed with me and he asked himself exactly what was he doing in the place. And then when the conversation was about to end, he provoked to this topic. He said it is well. I said no, it is not well. You do not pronounce that it is well when it is glaringly not well. So I left the call and I beckoned to my assistant, bellowed, I should say. She was downstairs and I was upstairs. So I bellowed to her and I told her, my topic for Sunday morning is it is not well. She's used to me springing all kind of stuffs. So she wasn't particularly surprised, but by the time I saw the first banner yesterday morning when she posted it, he said, she wrote, all is not well. So I called her back. I said, no, that's not what I said. It is not well. So we deleted the first poster. She reworked the graphics, and you have today's topic. Because how do you look at our country and say that it is well? The reality, staring all of us in the face, regardless of our delusions and illusions, is that it is not well. So why do we lie and tell ourselves that it is well? How to explain? Remember that song? It is well with my soul. It is well, it is well, it is well. It is not well. When Horatio Spafford wrote that song in 1873, he was sailing past the point where his family had been shipwrecked on the Ville they have. As a ship was taking his wife and 4 daughters to Europe. He had just lost a whole lot of real estate and assets, his fortune, in 1872 in the Great Fires of Chicago. And then his wife and children, 4 daughters, were traveling to Europe. And when they got to a point on their journey, the ship collided with another vessel on the high sea, and it sank. He received a telegram from his wife saved alone. So he boarded another ship to go and meet the wife in Europe. And when he was sailing past the point where it happened, he was inspired, so the story goes, to write the song that we sing almost at every funeral. If you're a Christian, I doubt a funeral is ever complete without them singing "It Is Well." It is well with my soul. Yeah. But whilst that song by Spafford was an expression of deep faith and the ability to find peace even in the midst of his grief, to find comfort in his faith in God, even in the midst of his profound grief. He lost 4 daughters in one day. So yeah, he penned a song encouraging himself in faith. So when he said it is well with his soul, when he wrote that song, it wasn't a fatalistic surrender found on cowardice that informs the Nigerian pantheon to say it is well. How do you look around our country and lie to yourself that it is well? How can it be well in a country where, in a state as poor as Osun, and I'm using Osun as an example, in a state as poor as Osun, billions are spent on travels and food, and peanuts are spent on education, on tertiary health, on primary health care. It's a fact that in Osun, more money was budgeted and spent on feeding. Yeah, feeding in the government house than was spent on universal basic primary education. How does that make sense? And they would ask somebody from that place and he will say it is well. How is that well? As in, make it make sense for me. How do you say it is well where it is obviously not well? A minister comes into the public space and announces that they are spending almost 1 trillion, I believe about 700 and something billion on renovating an airport. And everybody says it is well. How? What kind of fatalistic surrender to indecent oppression and suppression can that be? How can it be well? In a country where those who are paid to protect the lives of citizens who are victims would carry their guns, turn it on those who are paying them, and murder them without consequences, and you say it is well. How can it be well? What is well about a society where every norm has collapsed? Please, make it make sense for me, because you will sit down in your churches this morning, for instance, and many are praying against principalities and powers. And they are being told from behind the pulpit by persons who are complicit in the evil that has overtaken the country to pray for their leaders. Where are the leaders that you are praying for? And then after the empty homilies, you tell the people that it is well. How can it ever be well if they do not act to make things better? How? Yorubas will say, that the priest must not speak evil. But what if the priest beholds evil constantly? Why should he not speak? How do you find peace when you see this much evil and you say it is well? How can it be well if we're in a democracy and the people's vote count for nothing, and you say it is well, how do you stand behind the pulpit and rail against Satan and his agents and you have nothing to say about the ruiners of Nigeria? How? Who are the principalities and powers if not those who are sat in government offices across the length and breadth of Nigeria? And you say it is well. How? How is it well if men labor from morning till night and they can't even feed like humans? How is it well when people's homes are perpetually underwater? How is it well when the state that should be the one bridging gaps is the one promoting disunity? How? How is it well when the very future of our children are being stolen in our very before? And we are silent and we say it is well. What kind of well? Are you even inside the conga at all to understand that it is not well? What is holding your tongue that you are keeping quiet? What do you mean that it is well? How sustainable is the future that you are building for your children? Where is the sustainable future? Everywhere in the countryside, it's been emptied. We have a major refugee problem on our hands. Some people covet our country. They want it for themselves and they are driving our people every day into the urban areas and they are taking over our forest lands. And the state is quiet. And you see this and you say it is well. Every day in the Benue, on the plateau, every part of the middle belt, in the rainforest of the southern part of Nigeria, this blood of citizens, victims of the state, waters the ground, waters the heart of their ancestors. And you say it is well. How? Make it make sense to me, please. How is it well? Are you waiting until when they begin to pick us up from our bedrooms? How is it? How can you continue to sustain the illusion of normalcy and be claiming that it is well? It's obviously not well. Can't you see? What do you mean by it is well? How can it be well? You catch a man on the battlefield pointing his gun at agents of the state, police, army, killed citizens, depopulated the land. You capture them and you claim you de-radicalize them, then you absorb them back into your military and you say it is well. How? Make it make sense to me that you are de-radicalizing militant Islamists with blood on their hands, whilst their victims are in IDP camps, but you have Nnamdi Kanu in a prison. You can chase Yele Sowore around. You have the energy to be abducting little me in my own office. Please make it make sense for me that towns and villages are becoming desolate because people are running away from them because the state cannot protect them. And you say it is well. How is that well? Make it make sense to me that somebody like Adisirika who committed that is not even corruption again. In public space, before, you brought a jet from Ethiopia, painted here in Nigeria. Billions went flying with that. And today, everything is normal. And you say it is well. Oh, please. We talk about billions in subsidy fraud. Who has paid for these? The poor man. You use the fraud to justify the removal of what you call a subsidy. And it is well. As in, like, seriously? You say it is well? What kind of sick society have we built that we have normalized to the point where we say it is well, where it is obviously not well? This is not well. How do you say this is well? People live They graduate universities functional illiterates. And you say it is well. Almost every expert in the medical field who has the opportunity, I warrant that there is hardly any Nigerian doctor who has the opportunity to run away that hasn't run away. Unless you begin to count the likes of Dr. Folasheye, the ENT surgeon in Lagos State. Those are the kind of people who are sacrificially remaining behind. There is no incentive to stay. I was away in America and in Europe the last month. And I remember, I still recall people asking me, why are you going back to that crazy place? But of course, some of us are too mad to take the opportunity to escape. But we will not help you to normalize your lives. It is not well. The sooner you all tell yourselves this truth, the better and quicker it might be for us to rescue the future for our children, because we've obviously lost the present. We've lost the present to the point where those who have even ruined this country no longer feel any need to lie to us. They don't even respect us anymore. They don't even pretend to use their tenders board. Coastal Road, no tender. No public tender of any sort. Nothing. And what has happened? Everybody quiet. After the initial cackling like ants. And when nothing happened as a result of that, what happened next? Keyamo has come with his own now. So the same airport that they have been renovating, the number of times that Lagos airport has been renovated is an insult to any conscious Nigerian who is still capable of thinking. And then you say it is well. This surrender to reason that makes us, it predisposes us to an acceptance of madness to the point where we have become, all of us have become acculturated to madness. You are in the middle of the insanity. You are experiencing it. You are its victim. And you still continue to say that it is well. When will you come to the knowledge of the fact that it is not well? When? What is well about where we are? Whatever amount you are earning today, the reality is that our currency has been devalued almost to the point of uselessness. You want to buy a car today. I'm not sure that you can buy any car in this country today for less. If it's brand new, I'm not sure you can buy any. Even the Chinese import, you can't get anything for less than 40 million or thereabout. How many Nigerians can ever put that together? If you are working in the public sector and you are not a thief, you can never buy a car in your life. Yeah. If you are working in the public sector and you are not a thief, if you are working in government, in any government institution, if you are not stealing, you can never buy a car in your life. You can never build a house in your life. And you say it is well. What kind of wealth are you talking about? How can it be well when it is obvious that you are inside, you are not even just inside borehole, you are in a fast-moving river that is dragging you to a bitter end, and you say it is well. But then, you know, Hitler proved something as he ascended to power. He proved that even rational persons can become idiots once you can find a cause behind which to unite them. He united the Jews, and he united the Germans around the concept of the hatred of the Jew. What are you being united around in Nigeria? Nothing. If anything, they are sowing seeds of disintegration, bigotry, ethnic and religious. You are bang in the middle of all of that, and you keep saying it is well. How can it be well in a country where you all found the peace to move on from the Lekki massacre? Some of you defended it. Some of you explained it. Some of you rationalized it. You helped them to deny it, even in the face of all of the evidence in the public space. And you say it is well. You say it is well in a country where somebody like Orji Uzor Kalu, convicted and sent to prison, is back in the Senate, sat there as an elder in that Senate. And you say it is well. Akpabio, facing God knows how many counts of stealing, stealing by the same EFCC that it today presumes to have oversight function over. The same Akpabio in our National Assembly, I was saying that you are offering mic. That is the person sat as the president of your Senate, and you say it is well. How? How can it be well in such a place? I was hauled off into prison for no reason under the sun. But my case was much better than those of the people that I met in the prison. At least I could fight, and you fought for me. You know how many persons have been forgotten in prison? Not just in Ekiti, all over this country. Do you know the kind of condition in which those who have been sent to prison are living? What if I told you that if a person is in a prison in Nigeria, at least I can speak to the one I was in, and he has no outside help, nobody is giving him food, he has no sustenance beyond that which the Nigerian state, this criminal state, has to offer such a person, that person will die within 3 months. If he doesn't die of malnutrition, he will die of some opportunistic disease or the other. That is a fact, not fiction, fact. And there are multiple persons that I left behind in prison who had no business being there for as long as we have the kind of criminals who are ruling us in power. How is the head of the chimpanzee different from that of the monkey? You have criminals in high offices, in judicial offices, in traditional offices, and you have innocent persons. Innocent persons locked down in prison, in inhumane conditions. And you say it is well. It is not well. Stop lying to yourselves. It is not well. And the sooner you told yourself these truths, the better for all of us. It is delusional to pronounce that it is well in a place where it is as obvious as it is. It is not well. We have a society tottering on the brink if it hasn't fallen already. Normative collapse has already happened. When we were young, if you were going to smoke, you hide yourself somewhere to smoke. Now, every supermarket is selling paper. Every supermarket is selling crusher. Drug addiction has overtaken our society. Prostitution has overtaken our society. People are forced into prostitution by the weaponized poverty of the environment. The youth, left with nothing else to do, are happy to inebriate themselves. And we say it is well. How well can it be if we are in this mess? And you say it is well. What kind of future awaits our children? A country is as divided as it is without shooting each other in public yet, and you say it is well. How can it be well in this space the way it is? It is not well. I'm not going to join you in the lies that you have told yourselves. It is not well, but it can be well. But the first step towards any treatment is diagnosis. If you have not come to the point where you are admitting to yourself that it is not well, because it isn't, how are you ever going to get to the point where you are going to fix the problems that are obvious? Exactly what part of our country are you going to look at and indeed, in all honesty, say that it is well? Tell me, where are you looking that you find that it is well? Nigerian music, Nigerian fashion, everything that has gone global today is not a function of any government intervention. And even when you look in those areas, it is not well there. We can be much better than we are. You have illiterate sewing. How well can they support those who are making strides in the fashion world? How many people have been trained as sound engineers, mixers? How many institutions do we have to train people who are able to make?
Thank you for watching. If you're new to this channel, consider subscribing so you won't miss out any of our latest video.